we are 110% behind getting you to the other side. We are 100% behind not leaving any woman behind, no matter what you've experienced, what you're going through. And we're going to meet you. We're going to meet you. And we need you to stay in the room to be able to see you and meet you.
And that goes for creating programs for your clients too, doesn't it? So as you create your program over the next hour and a half, or for many of you, you're going to just be getting more distinctions about the program that you might already have a sense of. For some of you, you may be creating a marketable program for the first time, all right? Either way is totally good. It's what, please?
Totally good.
Yeah, because here's the thing. As you actually sit down and walk clients through different conversations, different brainstorming exercises, different reflections, you're going to get more and more information every time you work with a client around how to make it even better next time. Would you agree? Yes. What you're seeing at this retreat is the product of 5 years of doing this retreat. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? It was not this smooth the first time out the gate. So, I say that because I don't want you to get caught in the perfectionistic syndrome over the next hour and a half, all right? So the exercise we're about to invite you into, we're going to demo from stage, and then we're going to put you in small groups and literally create a container, this really cool sort of spiritual but strategic container, where you can become a channel of the program that your clients are going to be going through. We're going to use your physical body to help you channel that program through. Because what we know is when you get in your head too much, when it comes to your program and what you want to offer and your strategies, when you get in your head too much, it can just kind of stop the flow. Would you agree? Oh, good. I'm glad you do. So I also will need a stack of note cards up here in a moment. A few things I want to say about this idea of a marketable program. We're going to suggest that you have 6 to 10 steps that you walk through, that you literally get a chance to walk through and stand in physically each step. We're going to, are you already feeling pretty hooked up to Source? Yeah. Take a moment to do whatever you want to do to feel connected to your high self, right, before we go into the exercise, not quite yet. And then as your team coaches you to walk through the exercise, you're literally going to get downloads, and your team is going to be getting downloads on your behalf. Of if a client is here, here's what they might need after that. And then if they're here, here's what they might need after that. Are you with me? And it's pretty amazing. I've seen groups tap into like a group mind and download the most incredible programs for each other. It's very exciting. Now, for those of you in Leverage, you have a program. Many of you do. Your job is going to be to walk the program, and we're going to have you do it out on the lanai so that you can work this with each other, because there's going to be a little bit of a different conversation going on out there. And those of you in Leverage, you already have had, maybe you're reconfiguring your program. Maybe you're streamlining it. Maybe you're taking 2 or 3 programs and trying to making it one, because Sage told you one program will set you free, right? None of my Leverage clients put too many things on their plate. None of them do that. Never.
Streamlined.
So that's the whole point of Leverage, right? We built our entire key revenue source, I'll be honest, from Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy. Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy gives us women rocking business. Does that make sense? It gives us payroll. It gives us the capacity to host these amazing retreats. And then other money we bring in, other programs that we launch, can create marketing dollars so that we can get the message out in new ways. You guys can set yourself free with one program. How many programs? 1. Okay. If I ever really needed to retire, we could just boil it down to one program. Or we can just hire Serena to do the rest. Right? Or bribe her with a lot of chocolate. So here's a few things that you need to keep in mind. Number 1, raise your hand if you've never really created a program before. Yay! Give them a round of applause! Okay. So these women, those of you that just raised your hand, it's about half of you. Those of you that are doing this for the first time, please keep in mind that you're going to walk some steps, you're going to brainstorm some steps, and they might not be in the order that you always teach them in forever and for always. And what's cool is when you're working with private clients, do you really have to go in order all the time? go. You can actually jump around with private clients. Like, you might realize a private client really needs to do some like cleaning out of their limiting beliefs before they do the visioning, or vice versa, depending on the client, right? So the steps can actually be interchangeable in the beginning. Now, when you get to the point where you're in leverage and you're like, yeah, I'd love to be making $250,000 with one program, that's when it actually really serves you to start to have that experience of working with a dozen or so private clients, so that then when you package that group program, you have a nice foundation that's close enough to where everybody's at, that everybody can get something from going through the process in that order. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if you're somebody that likes to resist structure. You're like, can't I just figure it out as I go? Yeah. So I want to speak to you. The thing I want to say to you is that you can be creative in every session. But if you don't have an outline and a title for the session, what happens? What happens to your clients if they don't feel like there's any sort of a roadmap? What happens to them? Yeah, they lose security, they feel lost. It's tricky for them to really understand why they're investing when there's no roadmap. What's great about a program is that you can still make it up. You can still what, please? Yeah. Right? But you had an outline to present to them when they were handing their credit card over in the first place. Would you agree? Yes. Cool. So it just gives you a lot of professionalism. You want to say anything else?
Yeah. 3 steps to your program is really all you need when you leave this workshop this week. The first 3 steps. Like Sage said, we can invite you into 6 and 10 steps to take your clients through. But if you're not there, you've never created a program before, you're like, in my mind, there's just these 3 things I know I have to take them through. Beautiful. Don't pound on yourself for that. That's exceptional. And those 3 steps can be movable. The other thing I wanted to say was, we've talked a lot about how much work it is to start your business and how much work it is to take on the responsibility of being an entrepreneur. When you don't have a roadmap, a marketable program, and you just show up with your clients and you're like, what can I do for you? It gets exhausting really quickly. Because people are coming to us with great need and struggle. And they'll take us this way and that way and this way and that way. And those kinds of clients don't actually get results. They're pulling us around as their guides and mentors. And when they don't get the results, they don't tell their friends, their family, oh my God, it's so amazing, go see her because of that. Does that make sense? Yeah. It's way more work without a roadmap. They don't get the results necessarily that they want, and then they don't refer their friends. So as far as creating something sustainable for yourselves, creating a marketable program, I wish I could say that smoothly, marketable program, and using it what we call wash, rinse, and repeat. Doing it again and again and refining it each time. Refining that same program each time, refining it, you will end up with something polished, like what we're hopefully offering you this weekend.
Yeah. I also want to say that while you're in your groups, one of the things that can come up, and it probably already has for many of you, is you may find that your program or different things that you do with clients is very similar to other women in this program. Raise your hand if you've had that experience. In fact, some of the things that you do with your clients might be similar to what we do. We encourage that. Okay, we are not the ones up here going, well, we do it this way, and you better not copy us, right? I'm kind of like, yeah, I have the notes for that exercise. I'll post them in the Facebook page, take them, use them. I'd rather have more people leading this exercise. I didn't make up the exercise. I just put a lot of structures underneath it that make it really great, and I'd love to share it. So we're gonna start in the spirit of generosity. Of what, please? Generosity. Because you know what? It's all been used before. Right? What's unique is the energy you bring to it. So if you're walking around doing that thing, I know all of us have a little bit on eggshells, being like, well, I have to honor this teacher when I do this, and I have to honor this teacher when I do that. Like, let all that go. And if every single one in your group has a step where you guys do a life inventory for your client, or you assess their limiting beliefs, you're not copying each other. Okay? It's totally legit that you would all put that in your marketable program, right? Of course. So, who in here has a program that you feel like you've got a fairly decent idea of what it is? You're not totally in the dark, but it could definitely use a little bit of work, and that would like to come and demo this on stage. Right over here. Remind me your name? Nadine. Come on up. Give her a round of applause. And you're going to be a client. Okay, so here's how this is going to work. Oh, I'm going to go through this and go back. I'm going to go back. Yep, okay. So you're going to be in groups of 3. You're going to have a guide. You're going to have a what, please? Guide. You're going to have a client. Who's the client? Nadine. And the walker. I'm sorry. You're going to have a client. You're going to choose somebody to be Nadine's client, who's going to be Serena. Serena's going to represent Nadine's client. You're going to have a client. What are you going to have? Client. And then you're going to have the walker, right? The what? Yeah. She's a sexy walker, isn't she? Okay. So the guide is responsible for helping to be the scribe. To be the what, please? Scribe. And you're all going to have note cards. And this is really cool. So Nadine is going to tap into her high self. We're going to ask her, what's next? There's going to be 6 to 10 steps between where she is and the results that her client is celebrating at the end of working with her. Can you feel it? It's exciting, right? We're going to actually give bodies to the thing that you're creating. Leverage women, don't be surprised if something totally new and cool comes through. It's really fun. Every year we hear about that. So, don't worry right now about whether this is a 3-month program or a 6-month program or a 12-month program. Don't worry about it. We're looking for 6 to 10 steps. Every once in a while, we have somebody come back and go, oh my God, there were 12. Is that okay? I'm like, yeah, that's okay. Okay? But like Serena said, because you're each going to have time to go deep, and some of you might be doing this for the first time, some of you might only flush out 3 or 4 steps. And then time might be up, and you might need to move to the next person. And if that happens, you can keep working on it at lunch and with your coach, all right? It's not like you're just going to be done, right? But having the first few steps is a great start. So Nadine is going to tell the client, what is she celebrating after working with you for a certain period of time? Doesn't matter how long. But what would she be celebrating after the work?
Let's find out what her niche is.
Yeah.
I work with parents, helping them to teach their children how to feel and deal with their emotions.
So I'm a parent, and I'm struggling, right? My external problem is I'm struggling with my children. My internal problem, do you know what that is? As a
lack
parent.
of power.
I feel disempowered.
Shame, guilt.
And I'm full of shame and guilt because I can't communicate with my children. Is there a real world problem? Like, I can't get them to sleep. I can't get them to do their homework.
Would you be willing to do me a favor and walk closer, Serena?
Yeah.
So Serena, you're over here. You're struggling with those things.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not being very warm by being way over here, am I?
So right, we're working it out so no one else has to.
So real world problem is meltdowns.
My kids are melting down.
Melting down.
I'm melting
hot
down.
Mess. You're melting down.
Sweaty hot mess. Got it. Sucks,
So
man.
my program is mastering the meltdown.
Yeah. Being a parent is hard.
Being a parent
That's
is
what's
tough.
happening here.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
now you guys have done some work together for a period of months, and you're going to actually be at the end of that work. And Serena, do you feel ready to head over there?
Yes.
Awesome.
I'm
So
stoked.
you guys have had all this magic, and now where is she? Now tell her where she is.
Empowerment. No shame and guilt. Strong connection with your children.
Oh my God, I create boundaries with my kids now. Yeah. And
not feel guilty
and I don't
shameful
feel
about
guilty,
that.
and I see that creating boundaries with them actually helps our communication.
Your kids are emotionally healthy.
Oh my God, my kids, they feel their feelings, and it's okay, and then we move through it, and then they get to school.
Yeah.
So as a guide, I just went ahead and I wrote that down.
My job here is done.
I can't wait to tell all the parents in my life about you.
So as a guide, I just went ahead and wrote this down. Now, if you're ever walking your marketable program alone, you can do this alone. And for those of you that might be watching this on video in the future, you can do this on your own, and you can literally just put a teddy bear or a candle, or walk toward the window and put a symbol of your happy client at the end of the runway, and let yourself just walk through and get the download of each step. And then write them all down on a note card, put them on the floor. That way you can always kind of trade them up and move them around if you want to. And then once you get that typed out, take it to a coach, practice it with a buddy, and see how it's all flowing together. Cool? So I just wrote down the end results. She has no shame. She's fantastic at setting boundaries. She's happily parenting, great relationship, communicating with the kids.
Boundaries on there?
Yep, it's
Awesome.
on there.
So I just want to premise that, like, I don't have children. I'm pretending. I'm channeling, like Sage was inviting us to, channeling what would it be like based on this. So you don't have to be the ideal client.
So we now have the end result here. I'm setting it on the floor. There's going to be a string of note cards between where Nadine started with Serena and where she is now. Gosh, you look like a happy mom.
I'm getting sleep. I love my kids. They don't look like monsters anymore.
So when Serena first came to you, can you remind me what she was going through?
Kids were melting down,
Yep.
not sleeping. Everything was an argument.
And what did she need first? I mean, she's like so irritated and like done. She wants to throw her kids out the window, right?
So
She's not anywhere near there. So what does she need first?
So first thing needed was just, I call it first aid. So we need to stop the bleed out. in order
First
to be
aid.
able to move forward. So just learning how to effectively manage that meltdown so that they decrease in severity and length of time. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so say that one more time into the microphone.
So first step is first aid. Need to stop the bleed out. So learning how to actually map the steps. It's a 3-step process to being able to manage your child in the meltdown.
Perfect. So this is about learning to literally come away from the edge of the cliff.
Yeah.
I can imagine that would be really good language, like back away from the cliff edge and have strategies to be able to do that for yourself and your child.
Because it clears space then to be able to do the rest of the work.
That's right. And you can even let your clients know because they'll register that. You're working with really high-level people.
So
I'm noticing that we all are working with higher and higher level people, and it's okay to start sharing with them why this works because they get it. And by the way, Tracy, we are videoing this section for editing, so just remind me that, or just make sure Amber knows that. Yeah, okay. So this is step number 1. I'm putting it at her feet now.
And I want to interject that what I heard is 2 steps in the first step. So first aid, one part is for the parent, how do I stop my own meltdown? And then there's the, how do I affect the meltdown of my child? Is that true? So I just want to point out that some of you, like Sage was talking about yesterday, are such experts in your field that you're clumping steps together, right? So assuming that I can even manage my own shit, let alone my child. So what I wanted to ask you as the expert, if you were helping a family in crisis, would you recommend the first step being they help their child, or the first step they help themselves, or sometimes do they switch?
It's all about them, baby.
It's all about them.
So premise being that they need to be able to calm in order to be able to calm their child.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes, I love that. So I'm going to go ahead and put in step number 2. That this one is really more about the self-soothing and backing away from the cliff yourself and having those tools. And that the second step is about having the skills and the tools to now soothe the child. Is that right?
Yep.
What do you want to go ahead and step into the second step? What else? Is there anything else that happens here? Can you feel anything else?
No, so first step is about calming.
Yep. And
Both of them.
now we're on step number 2.
Yep.
Now they're getting the tools and the skills to
be able to calm
talk
their
their
child.
kid off the edge.
Yep.
Okay. How else would you describe that to them?
Well, I do a lot of work in terms of talking about like chemically what's going on for your child in that moment.
Yes.
That, they're not in their thinking brain at that moment.
Yes.
And So we need to get them out of their feeling brain and into their thinking brain so that they're able to calm. So I do a lot of teaching around sort of some of the chemistry that's going on to help parents to change their perception that their kid's just not being, quote, bad.
I love it.
Yes.
And what would happen to me as a parent if if I'm on the cliff, right, my family's in distress, I would need to know what to do,
Right.
like in the everyday, and then have the training.
Right.
Like
Okay.
just telling me all the neuroscience, like I'm just
So
going to be like,
strategy.
why wouldn't she fucking eat
Right.
her broccoli,
Right. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
So strategy.
a strategy,
Yeah.
right? Because a lot of people need the strategy to see how it works,
Yeah.
and especially people who are in overwhelm, and then the teaching behind it.
Right.
So I'm not saying it should be different steps,
Right.
and I'm
No.
curious what
Yep.
Sage might have to say about that.
Yep.
Well, this is the thing. We're working this out together, and you guys are going to be working this out. And when you're in your groups, it's not always going to be clear, and that's why we're modeling this and that's why we're doing it this way, because sometimes you've got two things written down on a note card, and you're crossing out one of them and putting it on another note card and moving things around.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining this might be more than one step. We've got soothing strategies.
Yeah.
We've got brain science and understanding where the kid is coming from.
Yeah.
There's probably more than one soothing strategy you're going to
There's
give
lots
me.
of soothing strategies.
Yeah.
And then, why we do that, what the difference is. And then also another step is then helping the parent to look at the block that doesn't allow them to do that.
Yes. Ooh, wow. So the other thing that we're going to recommend, especially for you leverage women and for those ELA women who have the capacity to go here, it's very bonus points if you can come up with a couple of titles for the processes that you put people through. If you were a parent freaking out, how cool would it be to know we're going to get you 6 different soothing strategies, right? Catherine Winter's like, yeah, she's been doing this for 2 decades, 3, however long, right? So to be able to call them soothing strategies, is that more or less credibility? More, right? So were you calling them that before?
Calming strategies.
Yeah, I like
So,
soothing strategies
soothing
because you've got that
strategies, yeah.
S. And then when you're actually offering your program, you may say the name of that process a couple times, because guess what that does? It makes it seem like a thing. If you don't make your thing sound like a thing, it's kind of like you're selling air. Has anybody ever felt that way? Yeah. So the more titles and processes that you can have as part of your marketable program, it's going to be easy for you to sell it. People are going to give you more money for it, okay?
So the reason that I used, connecting was
Yeah.
because the Mastering the Meltdown is a 3-step process.
Okay,
it's
cool.
the 3 C's.
Okay, great.
So
Then
calming, connecting, and coaching.
Okay, so
Nice.
it's a calming strategy.
Right.
It's
Nice.
a set,
So that's why I
you
use
teach
calming.
sets of calming strategies.
Right.
And it's calming and then
Connecting. And coaching.
and coaching. So I'm wondering if those are the next 3 steps.
So so within calming,
Yes.
there's strategies.
Yes.
There's the neuroscience
Yes.
of why those strategies work.
Okay, great.
And then there's what's blocking you from being able. Because it's great that we can have all of this theory, but in my experience with our clients, going from theory to practice, not always so easy. So looking
Never.
at what is blocking you from being able to keep yourself from not being a hot mess.
Yes.
Great, Nadine, you've given me all this stuff, and I went home and they melted down and I lost my crap,
Yeah.
right? Okay, what's that about?
And so that's why those 3 things that you were mentioning, calming, connecting, and coaching, can flip,
right.
right? Because if you're giving someone those calming strategies, but they can't implement them, then coaching's the next thing you're going to do with them.
Right.
Coaching them into actually implementing those
Right.
before you move on potentially to the next step.
Right.
'Cause
And the coaching was around you coaching your child. So as opposed to like, you're bad, you're awful, you're blah, blah,
Right.
how the coaching around how are you going to meet them for you to teach them
Nice.
other strategies.
So can you go back and tell me what the connecting's about? So we have we have first learning how to calm yourself down.
Yeah.
Now learning how to just basically calm your kid down.
Yeah.
Now we have understanding the science behind why your kid's doing what they're
Yeah.
doing. Now we have connecting. That's what you said.
Blocks.
Blocks. Okay, now we
What's-
have the blocks. And this is parent blocks. This
Yes.
is my blocks as a parent.
Yes.
So this is probably my kids actually bringing up all my own shit. Right?
Welcome to parenting.
Right. So
I love being a
is
parent.
that a coaching step or a connecting step, or does it matter?
That would be
I'm getting all uncomfortable just thinking about it.
We're going to talk you out by the
I
time
know,
we're done
right?
here.
I'll be done. I'll be kidless forever.
So when I use the word coaching, I mean, there's coaching going on in each of the steps. The
Yes.
coaching is part of the meltdown, is
Yes.
helping parents to rephrase how they look at addressing their child
Great.
through
this is-
coaching.
These are, we now get to look at your blocks.
I
So
like that
this is
part.
what you're going to be doing as a guide. You've got the note cards to keep reorienting her. So now first we calmed the parent down, then we stopped the kid meltdown, then we looked at the neuroscience.
I don't have
Now
any
we're looking
blocks.
at your blocks.
I don't have any blocks. I don't want you calling that blocks. I have no blocks. Can we call that something different?
All right, you're really derailing this exercise. Okay.
And
All right.
It's a good point.
it
It's
is a good point. No, you're
because
right. Absolutely.
No, I didn't mean that one, but thank
Oh.
you. I meant
It is, though.
in the process of the Marketable Program, if the client keeps interjecting every time she's in the flow, it'll take for fucking ever. So Sage is totally right, and I'm right, and we're all right, but just remember that. Carry on.
All right. So now I'm getting coaching around my own blocks.
Right.
I've seen the neuroscience of the kid. I've got at least some strategies to calm them down. What do I need next?
Connecting.
Now you need connecting.
Yeah.
Got it. And what does connecting entail?
So connecting, we teach strategies
'Kay.
around how to connect, how to build stronger relationship.
Building a stronger relationship with your child. Now you're ready to build a stronger relationship with your child. I love that. Okay.
Can we call that create fun? Can we call
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. Playing through connection,
that? Ooh.
playing to create connection.
Yeah. Cool. All right. And now
With the fun
I'm going to
part.
put this a little bit out here. Why don't you step into this? Because I don't know how many more steps there are, but it seems like we're getting quite a bit toward here. So now we're connecting, and we have, this is your 5th step. And that's your 6th step, where you're sort of integrating everything. So is there a step between here and there? Or do we just bend
Oh, yeah,
straight?
no.
Okay,
So then it becomes about, and then it's coaching.
okay, great.
So helping parents to develop strategies to coach their children
Okay, great.
into feeling and dealing with their emotions as opposed to punishing, disciplining, and consequencing.
Nice. Can you feel the expertise? Okay. Beautiful. And then as your child learns, this is how she would say it, right, when she's selling it. As your child learns to become a better manager of his or her own emotions, right, this is going to make space for your connection to be more playful, to be more intimate, for trust to be rebuilt so that your child is now confiding in you more, right? Did you guys notice I said so that? What did I say, please?
So that.
Okay, so that's going to be a big part of how you describe. We're just laying it out right now, and then we're going to do another training after lunch around selling it. Okay? That is me planting the seed for where we're going. Is there any other step between coaching your child into emotional mastery and now you are kind of at parenting mastery?
So a lot of what's covered, so the boundaries, those are all part of the blocks.
Totally.
Right?
But that's
So
the vision of where she's
Yep.
going to be.
Yep.
And that's going to be really helpful in
Yep.
selling. I think are we there?
I think we're there, yeah.
Give
You inadvertently entered another C, which is confiding. And I think that would be a really neat step from once you're into
Is it
coaching.
part of coaching? Let's ask the expert. Is it part of coaching? 'Cause
Part of connecting.
It would definitely be worth it to mention it. I
It's
love
part
it.
of connecting.
It's part of connecting.
Yeah, when your child connects, they're confiding.
Okay, I'm going to write that down because I love it.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
So here's the next step that the guide is responsible for. The guide is responsible for coming back through if you have time, right? And by the way, did you guys notice what happened when it got all convoluted here? I did my guide job. I said, and then I said, this is the first step, this is the second step, this is the third step, what's needed now, right? And then Serena was actually interjecting some really great things. So it's not that the client has to be completely silent. If you have a big download, either make a note of it or interject it when it's appropriate. And then it's our job to go back through and say, okay, we're just going to walk through it if we have time. Number one, we're going to help you get the strategies to not melt down yourself.
Yep.
Number two, we're going to get the strategies so that your kid stops melting down, or to help your kid not melt down. Then you're going to understand where your kid was coming from. And then you're going to understand what blocks and what triggers all of that is actually bringing up in you, so that you can be a better manager, parent, amazing connector moving forward. And then we're going to get you ongoingly connecting with your children using new tools, relating tools, so that your child's safe, confiding in you, playfully, joyfully connecting. And then we're going to get you those coaching strategies to continue to coach your child into emotional mastery and the boundary setting and all of these things, so that your child can actually become self-managing. And now it's like happy child and parent, la 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 la.
She's a great mom.
So
Yeah, really well done.
before we pick these up, I am going to number them. What am I going to do? This is very important.
This is the hugest part. After all this brainstorming, you have your cards, everyone's excited, and everyone's whispering in your ear, like, oh my God, you could do this, and you could call it this, and like this. Like, the guide is seriously keeping track, okay? What would even be better is when you get your cards, which the team's gonna hand out, if you put your name on all of the cards, because you know how cards do things, they shuffle, right? So you have your name on it, you have the numbers on it, so that you can walk out of here as clear as possible. Well done, guide.
Will you help me pick these up? All right. Thank you, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Here you go. One more
Well
kiss.
done. Mwah.
All right, questions. Burning questions. Only questions that you really need to answer just to be able to do the exercise. If it's a question about selling the Marketable Program or things like that, save it for after the break or after we wrap up. Questions that you need to know in order to get into the exercise. Yeah.
You've gone through a coaching program like Institute of Psychology of Eating, and they already have programs for like 6 weeks. Would you try to?
Yes. So the question is, if I've been trained in a particular method or a modality and they already have prepackaged programs, the answer is those are great programs to rest into. And what can be kind of fun is to walk through it yourself and see if there's a unique spin that you want to put on it. Because what I found is that even if you just put a unique spin in your own language on a few of the steps, it can really help you embody it and sell it. Because you're starting to make it your own. You're starting to what, please? Okay. Raise your hand if you're in any sort of niche soup right now, and that's kind of contributing to some confusion. Okay, got it. So here's what I recommend you do. Come up with something to get started, right? Like, Catherine, you may have a new program emerging for, parents of kids that are older. There's, some of you are switching your niche a little bit. Come up with an outline. Come up with a what, please? And get out there and put somebody through it. Do a few sessions with somebody. Run it by another mentor or coach who does something similar. And, use this time to just flesh out some brainstorming. And my experience is that it ultimately, at the end of the day, does become clear. Or if it's not yet clear, it's not yet meant to be clear. That was deep. One of the other things that got fleshed out at lunch was just this idea that, gosh, there's all these things that we can take us off course when we're describing our Marketable Program, and Claire had a really good insight, and Megan had a really good insight from working with our clients for the last few years. Would it be okay if I have them share? Yes, so share what you were sharing.
One of the biggest challenges I actually experienced myself, how many of you just think about saying pieces of your program and just get really scared? Anybody? Yeah. And I was like that. And part of my process when I started to have discovery sessions and explain my program, I'd go, and measure, give me, I would just, right? I'm hearing the nervous laughter because you might be in that same place, right? And one of the most important pieces of being able to walk step by step in the exercise this morning, and if you're not complete, you still have time with coaches like myself or Megan or Serena or Shannon, and you want to be able to get a temperature and get a read versus as fast as you can because it's scary. Fast as you can through your steps. You want to be able to walk through each step slowly and take a read. My very first step in my program, we're going to have an assessment. How many of you have an assessment in your first step? Great, perfect. A lot of you have your hands up. And if you're like, oh my gosh, everybody has their hand up for assessment, that's normal. It's a normal thing to have as far as coaching. So, for example, you'd say something like, and the first step in my program is we're going to have a VIP assessment day where we're going to assess and take an inventory of the daily food log that you've been eating for the past 15 years. How would that sound to be able to take an assessment together? Then you take a breath, and you, this is the key, wait for their response. And that's edgy. It's sticky. Because our nerves tell us to press the gas pedal. So, and this will take time and practice and patience with yourself to be able to say a step and listen.
I love that. Thank you. A round of applause for Claire. And it's so true, right? When we're describing our marketable program, we have to, especially one-on-one, we have to make it conversational. We have to make it what, please? How many of you have more than 6 steps? Yes, some of you. You're probably gonna, when you're actually describing it one-on-one, you're probably gonna wanna condense a couple of steps together. Does that make sense? Because if you go through and describe each of the 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 steps, their eyes are gonna glaze over. So we're gonna be talking a little bit about how you might be able to squish a couple of steps together sometimes. And be like, well, we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this. How does that sound? And then we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this. I wonder what might come up for you when we do that. Do you have a sense? And then can you see how it's conversational? It's what, please? Conversational. By the way, we're recording, so you guys can always go back and study this. Megan Neely, raise your hand if you have not yet gotten to meet Megan. Megan is, first of all, currently a leverage trainer. She trains the leverage program alongside me. And Megan is a graduate of the leverage program a couple years in a row. I've gotten the honor of getting to coach Megan privately and semi-privately and watch her company grow into a $250 million, or that's next year. I took a little bit too deep of a nap over lunch. It's good to know.
Or
you can do
she's
that.
just seeing the future.
I'm seeing the future. So Megan recently had a $250,000 launch, $250,000 launch. No small thing. Using the same tools that y'all are using. So I wanted just to have you hear where she's been. For those of you that are just meeting her, where she's been. I wanted you to hear what her hottest tip is for describing your marketable program. And she's going to be coming back tonight to help facilitate one of my favorite processes in the whole world. So one more kiss for Megan.
Thank you. So as Sage spoke to, I had the honor of getting to work with her and in Women Rocking Business programs for a couple of years. And over those couple of years, I really pushed myself to listen to these strategies, to listen to the structure that was being presented, because I don't know about you, but I really wanted to be really feminine and in the flow and not do it like anybody else. I wanted to do it my way and on my terms, and that was not getting me the $250,000 launches. I was really struggling. And so a few of the things that I really took to heart were really understanding what were those key steps. So when I did my first walk of my marketable program, I really got that prior to that, I had been just inviting people in for coaching and for general support. And sometimes they would say yes. Most of the time it was because they already knew me and liked me and they trusted me. For the people who didn't know me, they were kind of thinking, well, what am I going to get out of this? What's going to happen at the end of our time together? And just coaching wasn't enough. And so for all of you who are just, I saw so many hands go up this morning because it's just your first time creating a program to really work with your clients, whether it's with a group of people or one-on-one individually. It's going to make such a difference for you and for your income to be able to have a program that you can walk people through. And it also really starts to build your credibility. So I'm excited for you getting to do that piece. And then one of the other pieces that I really took to heart was really understanding the art of storytelling and the structure of building out my signature talk. And you're going to get to hear a little bit more about a program, Speak to Sell, that I got to do with Sage and Serena, where we spent 2 days together in a small group getting to work on my signature talk and story. And I ultimately used those stories and those talks to fill a 3-day live event and to make that $250,000 in the launch. So I'm excited for you to get more of that support, more of those tools. And I wanted to give you a tip right now so that when you're going back to your clients and you're starting to talk about this, this program that you're offering, that you're listening for exactly what they're saying they want. So as Claire was speaking to the importance of listening and pausing, I really want to impress upon you that when you listen to exactly what they're wanting, what they're needing, and then you tie back and connect the dots between the steps in your program and the results that you're going to get them to exactly what they say they're wanting, that's when they lean in. That's when they say, yes, I want this. So you want to be really clear. If they're saying, well, my biggest problem is I don't know where to get clients, and you're not mentioning that your program is actually going to help them have a structure and strategies to get clients in the first month that you work together, and you leave that out and you instead talk about how, well, we meet for coaching on Tuesdays at 10 a.m., and then I give you lots of one-on-one support and hand-holding along the way. That's not the same as saying that you're actually giving them the structure and the strategies to get clients. So listen to what they say they want. When you're in a discovery session with them, you want to be writing those things down so that you can reflect it back to them and directly connect the dots to your program.
Is that the hottest tip of the century? One of. Let's give her a round of applause. So we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, but when I'm in a discovery session, I'm always listening for what are the 2 or 3 things that they are longing for the most. The what, please? And I write them down. I don't write down everything they say in a discovery session. That would make me not present to them. I want to know the 2 or 3 things they want the most, and I write them down in their words. In whose words? This is important because I'm a free spirit. I would rather just intuitively guide myself through the conversation. But there is something so powerful about getting it in their words, because you will not remember 10 minutes later, when now you're describing your program and the pressure's on you, what were their words for what they said they wanted, right? I want to feel like, I'm not going to lose my kid when he goes away to college, right? I want to hear it in their words. And then when I describe my program, by step 3, we're going to really get you clear on how to lay the foundation so that your teenager, your young adult who's going off to college now has a system for staying in connection with you before they even leave. So when they go off, you're not going to have that feeling that you were telling me that you're worried about of losing your kid when they go off to college, right? And you can say kid because they said kid. If they said son, don't say kid. It can literally rub them the wrong way. And that one little disconnect can have them not necessarily feel the trust and that feeling that you want them to feel, which is that you get me. Right? I'm your mentor because you're with me on this. You're deeply listening. Can you do the same thing with their biggest challenges? Yeah, you can. Because if they have a couple of big challenges that make their voice crack, or you can feel how frustrated they are when they tell you, it is so frustrating. It's so frustrating when my husband just walks out the door and slams the door and won't even listen. It just kills me, I get this dropping feeling in my stomach, and I just feel like, why am I even in this relationship? I'll write it down. Dropping feeling in the stomach. He slams the door without listening to her, right? And then when I'm describing the Marketable Program, I say, I teach you these really conscious communication tools when you're in a calm place with your partner, so that when this happens and I feed it back in their words, and you have that feeling in your stomach, you're going to have the tool to be able to say, hey, babe, remember we talked about this. Is this helpful? This is like sales, not 101, it's like 901. It works. It works. It works. It works. Give someone a high five and say it works. I want to orient you to page number 6. On page number 6, you have a little bit of a cheat sheet for how to title your marketable program and what to include in your marketable program. This is all listed. Everything on this slide is listed on the bottom of page 6. Are you picking up what I'm laying down?
Yes.
All right. So when you go to actually create it, you may want to just circle which of these items you think you would like to include. And they're all good. My only word of advice is you don't need to give people support every single week. Does that make sense? I would say take 1 week a month where you're not providing sessions to anyone. That week you can catch up, you can do admin, you can be a mom. Some of you already have a JOB that you're showing up for, but it's really nice to have a week out of the month where you're not doing client sessions. Would you agree? What my experience is it really gets you to the front side of your schedule. So don't overgive. Don't what, please? Okay, so here's an example of one of our clients' awesome marketable programs. She called it Eating Disorder Freedom. Do you like the fact that she has a nice short title? So do I, right? She can say it over and over and, right? So it starts to sound like a thing. If your program is more than 3 words, it's going to be really hard to make it sound like a thing. It just is, because every time you say it, you're going to be saying a sentence and not like the name of a thing, okay? So notice that she's got some really cool and very short and simple 12-year-old language type of stuff, steps to her program. Create your vision dream life. Discover your treasure chest of tools. Become a belief-busting badass. Right? Okay. So once she actually talks to people about what they're going to receive, then she talks about what's included in her program, right? That you get these 3 hour-long intuitive coaching sessions per month, which I actually advised her to just do 2, but she insisted on 3 to start out with, because eating disorder is real. Would you agree? Yeah. So she got that, and I supported her in that. We all did. They get weekly support workbooks, intuitive eating food exchange guidance, access to the Real Model community. Looks pretty professional, doesn't it? Yeah. This was completed like 48 hours after her wealth retreat. Yeah. Could you do the same thing? Yes. If you wait 2 weeks, will you be more or less inspired? Yes. We recommend carving out some time next week to go back through your notes and get this stuff typed out, because you have now, a lot of you have the bones and the skeleton for something that can make you tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars and more. Here's another one. This was Psalm. Psalm had the weight loss recalibration program. She really wanted to include wellness in there, so we put it in parentheses. But when she talked about it, she just called it weight loss recalibration. Does it make sense? So the title could be a little longer in print form, but when you talk about it, you're going to want to shorten it, okay? So she had step 1, surviving diet, step 2, rekindle your body. I really like this. Pillar 3, she used to say you get an individualized, you get to understand your individualized conscious cuisine IQ. Raise your hand if that just kind of makes you want it, right? It's like when you tell people they're going to get this individualized blueprint, individualized roadmap, individualized IQ thing, it just leaves them in suspense. And you want to know what else it does? It adds perceived value to the thing that you've created that is valuable. So I would recommend in this next little bit of time, when we're going to give you about 8 minutes to just jot down your program in one place so you don't have all these note cards floating around. And we're going to invite you to get some of your ideas in one place. I'm going to invite every single one of you to have some kind of an individualized tool that your people get at some step of the journey. This is what Psalms looked like when she put it in one place. right? In my 90-day program, you're going to be guided through the 6 pillars of conscious nourishment so that you can establish your healthy weight lifestyle. It's not just about losing weight. It's about a healthy weight lifestyle. Pretty cool, right? Do you notice that she basically has the "so that" in there, even though it might not say that word for word, okay? It's all about having the name of the step and then describing what they're going to get. That's what I mean by connecting the dots. That's what I mean by what, please? So you can do that with every single step of your program with 2 magical little words. What are the little magical words? So that are 2 words that work over and over and over again to help you sell your marketable program. Okay? So, this is what it can sound like after. Here's Bella. This is what it can sound like when you're describing it. By the way, you'll get all these slides. This is what it can sound like when you're describing it after you've actually done the work to kind of consolidate, and now you're conversational, right? So she might say something like, I have a 6-month transformational program. It's designed to help you totally overcome your fears of dating and clear any sense of failure that you have about not being in the relationship you want. And my commitment is that you go out into the dating world and feel really comfortable in your own skin. Right? Can you all do this? You totally can. And then you pause, right? How does that sound? What would it be like if you were there in 90 days, 6 months, right? And then you go, okay, so let me tell you about the first month. Here's what's going to happen in the first month. And then, like Claire so beautifully modeled, you pause. All right? So what we're going to have you do is take a few minutes and draft your 6 to 10 steps. If you do feel like you're in the soup, raise your hand. We'll get to as many of you as possible. But if you are in the soup, that does not mean that you can't start just using this time to get down what you do know. Questions? And then we'll take questions after. Yeah.
How do you individualize something in a group program?
The question was, this is a great question. So the question was, when you want to lead a group program, how do you give people individualized tools? Because we all know that individualized tools sell your services. And in a group program, how do you do that? So the answer is, in a group program, you can do all kinds of things that get people that individualized guidance. You can throw in a couple of private sessions with you. By the way, that's a great bonus. Anytime you're selling a group program, when you can bonus in a couple of private sessions, that adds a ton of value to the group program. And it's in the individualized sessions that they might get that individualized tool. You can also have like an assessment, right? Like you actually took an assessment at the beginning of Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy, where you went through and you rated yourself on different things. That would give you some individualized feedback. So there's all kinds of ways you could and can and absolutely potentially will get people individualized information about themselves, even in a group program, by doing partner exercises, by creating assessments, and of course, by including individual coaching. All right. What do you got, Sophia?
Well, I'm feeling a little stuck because I have so many steps. I
Yeah,
feel like
right
it's-
into the microphone.
Okay, because I have a full certification program, but it's created of like 3 different online modules and then an in-person, and so
Yeah.
each one of those modules has, 5 steps and
Yep.
then 7 different
Yep.
goddess archetypes and then all
Yep.
these other things. So trying to feel into
Yeah, that's the same thing as Entrepreneurial Leadership Academy, right? There's these 2/3 events that you get as part of the experience or leverage, right? And then each month there's these whole processes and systems that we use. So we summarize it in a few words of just an umbrella description. What's it called, please?
umbrella.
So the simplification is that you may have a month where they deal with, I don't know, give me one of them, vision or archetypes or embodiment, right?
Right, all of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for instance, awakening the goddess is like 7 different goddess archetypes.
Right.
That's a little clearer. That's like,
that's a
okay,
little
awaken
clearer.
the faces of, the different faces of the goddess. The
Right
first
into the
one,
microphone.
the first one is the 5-fold path, which is about rooting your temple body. There's, emptying out, there's connecting to your innate wisdom, there's sharpening the sword of discernment and your graceful warrior. There's the dream canvas, and then
Sign me up. I'm
living
excited. I mean,
artfully.
how many of you are like, that sounds pretty fascinating? I want to know more. So I just want to say that all of those pieces you just laid out are beautiful, and I'm feeling myself being curious about each one. I think it's actually about laying them out a couple at a time and then pausing so you don't blast people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's worked in the, it's working.
It's working.
It's working.
Yep.
So it's just, how to really streamline. It's just so interesting when I feel like something's already working, but then I go to do this exercise and I just get completely stuck. I'm like, I have no idea what to write right now.
Well, I'm curious, have you had a chance to make an offer for the certification program in a big event? Have you made a paid offer yet?
No.
So that, I would say, is your next step, right? Because you are incredibly magnetic one-on-one. And when you actually have that big group in front of you, it will serve you to be a little bit more organized.
Mm-hmm.
So I would take those components that you just spoke into the microphone and make sure you have a short description of each one. And you guys don't have to sound like a broken record and say so that again and again and again. But you can find other ways of doing that to create the same end result, which is that you're letting people know why the temple goddess,
Temple body arts.
right?
Yeah.
Why the temple body arts can change your life, right? When you have this system, even after you go home, you'll have a new ritual to start your day out with, right? And so instead of feeling overwhelmed by your life, you're actually going to have a tool to move through that, right? So that you can actually link it back to what they might be going through practically. So that's the direction I would steer you in.
Okay.
Because I think you're great at selling your program one-on-one. I think the next level for you is just getting a little bit more clear on how to describe it in the group.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
is that
you.
helpful?
Yeah.
Kiss for you.
Thank
Mwah.
you.
Yeah.
Is the last step, is it kind of critical what's in the last step? Does it have to be kind of a wrap-up step, or can it really just be another component of your program?
Who do you serve?
I serve people in the wedding and event industry to grow their business and get more clients and keep more of their marketing money in their bank.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I remember you.
Yeah, you're my coach.
Yeah, good. So is there, based on who you've already served, is there a range of what you help people make? Like, is it 1 to 5 million? Is it 25,000? Like, what do they make in the bridal industry? Is there a range?
So honestly, I don't have any clients yet. I'm just
Okay.
developing my marketable program now.
Awesome.
But if I were to guess where I'm going to head in the beginning, we're probably looking at people that are making anywhere between, ideally they're going to want to be making anywhere between
Nice.
100,000 a year to $1 million a year, I
I
would
agree.
say, because a
Yeah.
lot of the ones that are going to be my specialty are new in the
Yep.
industry, or they're part-time and they have a job and they want to make their wedding business their full-time career.
Nice. Are you hearing how clearly she knows her ideal client? And even though she hasn't worked with them yet, tell me your name again, I'm sorry.
Jill.
Jill, even though she hasn't worked with them, she knows what people in the industry are capable of making and what they're desiring to make. And so she's going to use that to share with them that she can get them there if it's true, right? If she thinks she can get those results. Gorgeous.
true.
Absolutely.
Can I add
get
one
them
thing?
those
Yes,
results.
please.
So here's the thing about the final step. I just want to add something about that one piece. So it depends on how you have front-loaded the description of the program. It depends on the front-loading. It depends on the what, please? Okay, so we're going to suggest that you all front-load the results of your program, because that's the thing people want to hear the most. They want to hear where they're going to be at the end. So it can be really valuable to describe the amazing happy parent first before you go back through the steps. So if I've described, you're going to be at a place in your parenting where you can confidently set boundaries, you can talk yourself off the edge of the cliff, you can have the tools, you have several tools in your back pocket to calm your child down, right? So you're going to have these tools. Then when I go back through and describe, it's not as important whether I describe the 6th step, right? I might save 1 or 2 little benefits for the description of that 6th step. And I might even say, like I said in the beginning, that's when we're going to integrate all those pieces around this, this, and this. And then they may have even heard that before. Is that helpful?
Very.
Cool. Kiss for you. Mwah. And thank you all for being patient with our coaches, because we're still in the first month of our programs. And some of our coaches are coaching about 40 or 50 of you. So give them kisses. And we love you, and we will all be getting to know you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do next. This is our favorite part. We are going to see if we're going to actually pull one or two of you up to practice your Marketable program on stage. And you can do it a couple ways. You can do it completely like brain splat version, where you go, well, here's the steps I'm thinking about, blah, blah, blah. Or you can get up here and confidently describe your program the way that you would with a potential client, if you want to really stretch. And either way, you're going to get a lot of practice, and we're going to get a lot of learning by listening to you. So I think we had an idea of who we wanted to bring up.
Yeah, let's bring up Eva.
Can we give Eva a big round of applause? So Eva, it's up to you. You want to sit? You
Can we
want to
get
stand?
a handheld for her? Thank you, Jen.
Let's have you stand. I think so too. So we have a tradition in the Women Rocking Business world where Eva's about ready to tell us what she does. But we have a tradition in the Women Rocking Business world where when we have one of you come up here, we love, especially when they're about ready to do like kind of like a, they're about ready to really provide some content. We like to give them a standing ovation. Ready? Let's give Eva a standing ovation! We love you. It's unfuck-upable.
This is humbling. Thank you so much.
You're like, this is why I got up here?
No.
So you can just tell us about your Marketable program, what you know about it now.
Okay.
And then Sage and I'll take some notes and give you some feedback.
Okay. So thank you, Claire, for picking my niche, because I had no clue. So my niche is women in technology, which is an interesting issue, actually, because corporate America is not built for women, especially not for women engineers, and especially not for moms who are women engineers. So I developed a program. It's more a draft right now, to change Silicon Valley.
Tell us like it is.
So I would like to get started with an organizational and individual assessment. I believe in the power of masses, so one woman is not going to change anything in an organization. So we need to unite our forces. We need to create self-supporting groups for women within organizations. So my plan is to reach out to IT companies in Silicon Valley. It's practical because I live here, so I can meet them in person. So the first step of my program is an organizational and individual assessment. So I'm going to assess the organization, and I'm going to assess the women. We would like to understand the pain points of each individual woman, and we would like to get clarity where the organization is losing its energy and power by not utilizing the feminine values within the organization.
Woo!
The second step is, I find it always very liberating if you understand that you're not alone and your pain is valid. A lot of women do not know that they are not set up for success in technology today because the structure is built by men for men. There is the latest research on bias, conscious or unconscious, how women are limited and how we limit ourselves. Step 3 is exactly this. How do we contribute to this misery? What are my own beliefs, limiting assumptions, my little, backpack, what I'm still carrying from my grandmother, or even my social conditioning, which contributes to my limitations in my workplace. The next step is brainstorm and team building within the team of women who sign up for this program. It's essential that we have our own backs and we provide support for each other. We are going to create a strategy and an action plan. We are going to see a very clear path forward, and we are going to present this to the leadership team. We need to have the stakeholders on board. Otherwise, we won't be successful. And you might want to understand that this is not just an organizational change. This is going to change your life, even at home. Because if you feel like you need to have 3 times exercise in the morning in order to feel balanced, which is a very personal decision, it's your very personal balance, then there's a chance that your husband, needs to take the kids to school Monday, Wednesday, Friday. What he didn't do so far, right? So, step 6 is self-care, self-empowerment, mindfulness, meditation. Meditation is going to connect you to your inner wisdom and will support organizational change and personal transformation. You are going to be balanced based on your very personal preferences, whatever that means. I realized in my life, and this was an eye-opener, that my personal balance is 70% career and 30% family. And this is okay. You will be empowered as a woman, individually, and as a team. And this is going to support your organization. You will have a healthy work-life integration. You will be able to make an impact based on your skills, which will be supported, based on your talents. You will have the right position within the organization, and you will be making the money your effort is worth. And finally, the company is going to be able to utilize the female values and is going to be able to take full advantage of women in the workforce. Thank you very much.
Woo! What do you see in this goddess?
Yes, I like that. Revolution.
Yeah. I feel incredibly moved. I feel incredibly excited for you. I think Serena and I both stand together when I say that you're very skillful in your languaging. You're very articulate, and you hold a lot of power. So there's a lot of talent and resource here for you.
Thank you.
Now, just to back up to the big picture, do you have an acknowledgement before I back up to the big picture? I love it when she does that.
We can go with the big picture.
Yeah.
I want to acknowledge this foreshadowing that you're seeing around the validation, allowing that women may want to have a life that's 70% around their career and on purpose, and 30% around their family, and that can be a balance. That's what I want to say about that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have a lot of women come through our programs that make that decision, that they're actually better moms when they make peace with the fact that they actually love their work and they like to give a lot of themselves to their work. And vice versa. It's a personal choice. And what I want to get clear on is who you're selling to. Because I heard you toggling back and forth between I'm selling to the organization and I'm selling to the individual. And you can do both, but which do you want to do first, and which should we go with right now? Because we've got to get that a little more clear. Would you agree?
Yes. Yes. Organization.
I thought so.
Thank you.
So here's the thing. You kept saying when you go home and when you this, and you kept making it about the balance and the benefits that you're going to experience when you go home. But if you're selling to the organization, they don't actually care about that. I'm just going to be super blunt.
Okay. I had one specific person in mind. She is recruiter manager at a big tech company. She's a woman.
Yep. So it's not that none of them will care about it, but it's not going to be, I'm guessing, their first and most important priority.
Definitely not. Yeah.
Now, there was one thing that you said in here that you nailed their priority. You nailed it in one sentence. Remember which one? Nope, not the last one. It was actually pretty early on. You said, because women within IT companies have these, are we recording? We're recording, but do you want to actually have an individual recording of just this? Can somebody record for her? Somebody with a phone that would be willing to send it to her? Just raise your hand if that's you. We've got one right back here. You can just bring it on up and set it on the stage, if that's okay. That way you can have, won't that be helpful, just to have it right away?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is valuable. So thank you so much.
Video or recording?
Just record, just an audio, I think.
Get up there.
Short skirts. Okay, perfect. We got it. Okay, so because you're selling to the organizations, you said there are these invisible pain points within these IT companies, these invisible pain points that women are carrying and experiencing that is causing the organization to lose money and power and not fully utilize this most largest untapped resource.
Yep.
And I would add, they're losing energy, they're losing power, they're losing money, they're losing productivity.
And innovation.
And
women are creative.
And innovation,
Yep.
and efficiency.
Yes.
So
definitely.
do not forget that you've got to know who you're talking to. You have to know what, please? When you're going corporate or you're going organizational, you've got to speak in their lingo.
Right.
Okay, so you got that. Cool. So you're just going to add in, right, that yes, corporate America, what we're noticing now is that women in tech, there's all these women entering the tech workforce, and that corporate America is not always set up to cultivate and nurture these women who I believe are our largest untapped resource for productivity, efficiency, innovation. I'm getting excited. I can feel you getting excited.
And what about this piece about teamwork and
And
collaboration?
teamwork.
Right? This is an essential quality that women naturally have from their family systems. And when
Right.
they bring that into the workplace, things get more efficient.
Yes.
And when you use the word impact, like that's a buzzword in the corporate world. Everybody wants to make an impact. They want to sell more of whatever. They want to have their systems in every school in the country, so on and so on. So it's another word to use in that industry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And so what's really exciting is when you could work with one or two organizations, maybe even in a beta. You may even be willing to figure out a way to just work with an organization for a reduced rate or as a beta process so that
Yep.
you could actually get some tangible results down. You know, we were able to get these women, 30% more productive. We were able to get these women showing up at work excited and ready to go. They weren't complaining about staying late 1 or 2 nights a week when they were in a big project push, because they were feeling seen and heard and connected with each other. They were getting their voices into the table. And what we saw is the overall productivity of the team went up, blah, 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 right? So that's actually where you want to start. And then you're probably going to be talking to the HR manager,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Maybe the COO, probably HR. So you're probably going to be asked the question, well, how do you do it? And that's when you get to go through and describe the process and just clean this up a little bit, right? So we start out by doing individual assessments and organizational assessments so that we can identify where the gaps are.
Right.
We can help women and men come together, because this is not about being anti-man, and I think that's going to be really important, because
Yes.
sometimes you may be talking to a man, right?
Yeah, this can happen in Silicon Valley.
Exactly. So what we have to do when we're on a mission, and I'm on a mission to close the pay gap, and you guys know I am. You've heard me talk about it. I'm on a mission to have women not earning 79 cents on the dollar, right? But I talk about it very, it's very strategic and deliberate when I talk about the mission-driven value that I have versus the strategies and the techniques that I'm going to offer you in my program. Because if you're sitting down to buy something from me and I go on and on about closing the pay gap, you're going to be like, great, Sage, what's that going to do for me, right? So you've got to land it for them. So we've got to actually make sure that, especially if you're talking to a man, which as we both know will happen, you've got to get on his side of the fence. Like, be like, I wonder how it's been for you to work with a woman. Have you ever gotten complaints? And to get curious. Because the minute you can get that crack, right? And you can even just say, as a man, I'm imagining, it can be a little bit crazy to have to manage a bunch of women leaders, and just see what he says and just stop talking. Because sometimes it takes a minute over there, right? And then whatever he feeds you back is going to be your biggest selling point. So this whole piece that you do around, one woman is not going to change. We have to change as a whole. That can't go in a selling conversation unless you're talking to a feminist, a feminist leader CEO.
Yeah.
You got to be a little careful.
Yes, I think if this really takes off, this is gonna scare the shit out of them.
That's right, and that's what I'm saying, is that if you're too confrontational, they will not hire you. And we've talked about this a lot with Carla Lang from our leverage program. I don't think Carla's in the room, but it's like, those of us that are that have that feminist thing, the minute we become confrontational is the minute we don't get the sale.
Right.
It just does not work. Okay, we're at too evolved of a moment. It could have worked 20 years ago, but we're at too evolved of a moment where too many people out there know it's about coming together now, right? And the men need just as much support as the women, right? So I would actually absolutely recommend that you go back through and that instead of the balance that you speak of around the individual, that you start talking about the balance of the organization that's possible and how the individuals, of course, can benefit. And then I love that you actually can provide trainings that give women in the organization permission to fall even more in love with their work and support each other more, create that sense of community more, because it's one of our sweet spots. It's one of our innate talents, and most men would agree with us and be very happy to have us bring that to the table. And that when we give, and you can say, when we give these women permission to make peace with the fact that they actually want to be 70% career, 30% moms, 30% wives, when we give them permission and empower them to really embrace that this is who they are and to love that work and to go home juiced up for their families, what happens is everybody's happier and the productivity goes through the roof and you get what you want out of your employees, and at the end of the day, that's actually your bottom line. And they're going to love that.
Thank you.
I would just want to roll back to how many of you in the room are actually wanting to work with corporate, at the corporate level? Raise your hands higher, please. Okay, so less than 30. Awesome. So this model that Sage is laying out for Marketable Program is for you. And pay attention to closely how many clients Sage suggested that she get her hands on, right? 1, 2, or 3 as an individual without a team. Getting into the HR, getting into the CEO or the COO, getting in on that level to make those connections. Because without those connections, right, you're not going to be able to implement in the corporate, up in the upper management, like we're describing. She could have gone the other direction. She could have taken her Marketable Program and went towards women in corporate. That would have been an equally valid niche, but then she wouldn't be speaking with people in upper management, right? She'd be speaking with women in the workforce. So just notice which way you're leaning towards.
And if you were going to speak with women in the workforce, you still would want to have the language to make friends with the organizations. Because guess what? Going and doing the talk in the organization is going to be your best way of finding those women. And doing a lunch and learn, they love bringing speakers in over lunch, okay? They love, organizations and corporations, oftentimes they do like staff retreats. They like having speakers for their staff and their team retreats, their team trainings. And what you want to do is you want to have the lingo and the language to say, hey, I can help you be more productive. I can help you be more effective. I can help your teams work more efficiently together. and here's how I'm going to do that, and I'm wondering if I could come in and do a talk for you guys. And one of my private clients from last year, he actually was willing to do 2 contracts free of charge through warm leads in his community, and he just now has sold his 3rd $25,000 contract because he went in, he rocked their world, he did such a good job. He said, I'll give you a day. What do you need? Let me prove myself. And those people loved him so much, they told their friends. And in corporate, I mean, everywhere, it's all about the network. It's all about the network.
Yeah.
What's it about, please? And in corporate, it's even tighter that way.
Yep.
So we'll get you in there, and I can't wait to see what you do. One more round of applause.
Thank you.
All right, we have another hot seat winner who we would like to see if would come up, and that, I think, is Terry. Yeah, are you willing? Let's give her a big round of applause.
Doo, doo, doo. Yeah, bring it up, Terry. Terry was the winner of our video contest, if you remember back in the day. She and
Use this?
the woman who was up yesterday.
You wanna use that?
Jolyn. Thank you. No worries. It's always a little awkward up here. You get up here, you're like, oh, everyone's watching, you drop something, and then it's all fine. This one's yours. Get it close up to your mouth.
Yes.
And the object of this game is
There's
just to describe your marketable program, the steps of it, and the results. Similar to what you and I were doing when we were working on it.
Yes.
And stay in your body if you can. Because it's all friendly faces out there. Can we give her a standing ovation to begin? Here comes the love.
Gosh, I hope that's what my future looks like.
That's what your present looks like.
Thank you. Yeah, and I've never been graceful. I've said that many times. Okay, so my niche is supporting professional women who live with autoimmune illness to become the CEO of their health so that they can once again focus on their dreams and goals with energetic confidence. Thank you. So the Marketable Program that I sat down and really just made within the last few hours. I've tossed it around for months, but anyway. First off, what I'm finding is that a lot of people do not realize they are at risk for a train wreck with their health. They go and they take care of their husband and their children and their jobs and their friends and their community, and they're there for everyone. And that's what fills them, and so they just keep going. And if they get the occasional headache, the frequent illnesses, maybe sinus infections, just the little irritating things that come up every once in a while, they kind of look at it like, I'm going to go to the doctor, I'm going to get my prescription or whatever it is that he tells me, and I'm going to get over at this and get back to what I'm doing because this is what I want to do. Until the symptoms become so conglomerated or so intense one-on-one. So what I'm finding is that there's a lot of denial around whether you might have an autoimmune issue or disease, or more than one, or if you are at risk for one. So the first step is to take a health assessment. And basically, kind of mimicking what Sage's program did is on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you have these symptoms? Are you under prolonged stress, or do you have headaches often? Do you just the certain symptoms that come from being under a prolonged amount of stress. And then the second step, and I'm guessing the people that would show up for a talk have an inkling they might have a problem, but they're not really sure what. And again, they don't want to admit it because they're strong and they've supported everyone else, and it's fearful to think that they might not be able to continue to do that.
Yeah.
So once they kind of see that they might be going down that road, and some of them may have already gone over the cliff like I did, the second thing we're going to do is try to make sense of the symptoms. What are your headaches telling you? Or what are your, maybe a bad knee, or, I mean, there's just all sorts of things that your body can tell you. And so we're going to try to make sense of those symptoms individually. And then we're going to go into some strategies for obtaining and sustaining well-being. Some tools that you can use to incorporate, and that's also going to be individualized. There's a lot of modalities out there that you can choose from, and I think that has to be an individual choice as to what you want to maintain and have become a habit for self-care. And then the fourth thing that I wanted to cover is the fact that your body, your body is giving you a gift by showing you that it needs something. And so the gift is listening, learning to listen to your body when it's telling you something. When you have a headache, or you have a sore foot, or it's kind of like what we were hearing last night about the different things that you can learn from the firewalk. You know, if something lands on a certain spot, pay attention to that. Look it up, check it out. So, I mean, our bodies are meant to be protective. A lot of people say autoimmune is your body attacking itself. I don't believe that. I believe your body is talking and telling you there is something that is wrong that needs to be fixed.
Yep.
I'm trying my best to help you,
Yep.
but you have to listen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the result is you can return, you can walk away returning to what you love to do with the skills and the tools to be able to maintain the level of energy and focus and impact that you want to have in your world, however that looks.
Woo! Woo-doo-doo!
Thank you.
I love
Thank
how soft you're getting. Can we reflect back some of the qualities we see in this woman? Passion, care, wisdom, compassion, self-confidence.
Do we have a friend that could record this one session? I mean, you guys can go back and get the recording, but just this one session. Do we have a friend that could record this? Great. Will you stick your phone on recording for her? You can email it to her later. Thanks, honey.
I concur. I feel like you care so much. And when we were working over there, I was just feeling how much you care about what you're saying. People are on their way to a train wreck, right? And you're like wanting to wake them up and let them know. Have you been there? Uh-huh. Yeah, you've been there. This is the hallmark of a good story. Just saying.
I have a great story.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about my story.
Because you survived your own train wreck. And when we speak about what we're most passionate about, right, people feel are genuine. It's like, I want to help you avoid this train wreck.
I love that. It was really beautiful. And I felt you in your bold stand, right? As you were educating us around what an autoimmune disease is actually doing. It's actually our warning signal that our body needs our support, and we got to stop and not keep going, so that we can return to the things that we love with energy, vitality, and impact. Yeah, say that at the beginning.
You sound so good.
I want to help you avoid an autoimmune train wreck. Yeah.
That landed really good.
I know
landed
that
good.
I can help you avoid an autoimmune train wreck, so that you can return to the vitality and energy and focus on what you really want to do, because you are a go-getter. We need you. You're one of those people that is the life force of our community. You're the light bulb in your family, right? One of the things about
It's all being recorded. She's got you.
one of the things about when we talk to a niche, right, that's suffering, is we want to validate that their suffering isn't their fault, right? Denial comes from part of that, right? So if you're talking to a group of people about their struggle and you're naming it, lift them up, right? It makes sense that you're tired. It makes sense that you're fatigued, because you may be overworked, your body may be overworking. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to do a vitality assessment. We're going to see where your vitality is leaking, because you obviously need more of that to get shit done, right? Turn it around. Let them know that we're going to figure this out. The second thing I want to do is help you really rule out leaky gut, or rule out, what's another autoimmune? Lupus. Yeah.
Rheumatoid arthritis.
And rule out arthritis. So we're going to make sense of the symptoms you have by really getting in touch with what's going on and when it happens, so we can rule some things out, so you can have some peace of mind. You've already got a lot on your mind with everything that you're doing, so let's rule that out. So you see how language is becoming their ally, as opposed to your someone who diagnoses them with a problem. It's a very different switch. Beautiful. I loved it when you got to step 3. Can I keep rolling, Sage? Awesome.
On a roll.
I loved it when you got to step 3 about the individualized self-care plan, right? Sage talked about that before. Put individualized in there. Because like you said, if these people are in some kind of denial and they don't want to be grouped with the autoimmune people, you're like, that's cool. I'm not gonna group you in there. I want to get something that works for you, your body, and your situation, so it's easy. You know how to address your symptoms. You know how to bring down inflammation easily.
Well, and it boils down to access as well.
Access.
To practitioners and to different types of modalities.
And can I add something about this piece? So this is a very marketable piece for you, +1 to everything that was shared. I love doing this with you. We love doing this together. Here's the thing, is that your people are chronically worrying about their health.
Yes.
They're chronically worrying about their health, and that's part of the problem. And that's part of why they need you. So we've got to name that, And can you hear Serena using the so that languaging? You hear it, right? We're going to get you that, we're going to help you analyze the system so that you can stop chronically worrying about your health, right? So that you're no longer feeling so alone in this. Because that's a part of it that's actually exacerbating the issue, right? And we're going to help you, this is something that's very marketable, we're going to help you demystify all of the menu of modalities out there that you could possibly choose from, because it's overwhelming.
It is.
And we can actually, you can spend tens of thousands of dollars and create more of a problem than you had in the first place. And this is where we build in what's called a comparison value. What's called a what, please?
Comparison value.
Right? When we make offers here at Women Rocking Business, sometimes it's really important for us to mention that at this point, Sage is building a multi-million-dollar company. Sage has a vision to reach millions of people around the world, millions of women. And so we've gotten to the point where to spend a day with Sage, it's like 12 grand. Because to take me away from my team and my marketing and my social media and you guys for a whole day, it's an expense on the whole company, right? So when people understand that like a VIP day here with us at this point is about 12 grand, our programs all of a sudden become a lot more valuable. Are you picking up what I'm laying down? So you can do comparison values with your own VIP days. You can do comparison values with PhD programs. How many of you have watched somebody, or you yourself have dropped tens of thousands of dollars on a PhD program? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you've ever spent more than 5 or 10 grand a year on healthcare. Raise your hand high. Raise your hand high. Yeah. Comparison value. People spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to get to the bottom of these issues, right? What I'd like to do is save you money from the beginning by laying out all of the options. By laying out all of the options on the table and get you the one or two that we think are going to get you the solution that you want the quickest. And then we'll together decide if they're working, not working, and we'll go through and find a recipe that doesn't overwhelm your body but gets you the care that matches the symptoms you have. Back to you, Serena.
You picking up what we're laying down?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. This phrase about your autoimmune is talking to you. I love how you linked it back to your body's voice and supporting them to actually be in touch with their body before something happens. Preventative medicine is something that Western culture isn't really, we haven't been encultured into, but it's becoming more and more evident that preventative medicine is less expensive than Western medicine. Like Sage was saying, to lay out the cost value. This language around more energy, more focus, and more impact, I think that's where your talk title lies, right? If you are going upstream trying to explain to people that they might be on their way to autoimmune and they don't want to hear about autoimmune, I wouldn't put that in your talk title, right?
I agree.
Now, once they come in the room, right, and they're with you, and you start to educate them, like, this is an autoimmune. This is what happens right before that. And this is what an autoimmune disease is going to cost you. Then they're going to pay attention more to that broader conversation. But I would stick to something more like energy, focus, and impact. The CEO of your health, 3 keys to vitality. Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. I love CEO of your health.
Yeah.
You got this, girlfriend. Give her a round of applause.
Okay.